I've been hearing it for 3 nights now. A baby's cry, faint but unmistakable, coming from somewhere within these old walls. At first, I thought it might be from one of the neighboring apartments, but the sound doesn't travel through windows or walls. It echoes from inside my own home. I live alone in this ancient building, and there hasn't been a child here in decades, according to my landlord. Yet, still, the crying persists, always beginning at precisely 3:17 a.m. Tonight, I lie awake in bed waiting for it. The digital clock on my nightstand flips to 3:16, and my heart races in anticipation. The apartment is deadly quiet, save for the occasional creak of settling wood and my own shallow breathing. I've checked every corner of this place, closets, cabinets, even the cramped attic space above my bedroom. Nothing. No explanation for what I've been hearing. Yet I know I'm not imagining it. 3:17 a.m. Right on schedule, it begins. A soft whimper at first, then building to a desperate wail. I sit bolt upright, my skin prickling with goosebumps. It sounds closer tonight, as if it's coming from just down the hallway, rather than some distant, unknown place within the building. Gathering what little courage I have, I swing my legs over the edge of the bed and reach for the baseball bat I've started keeping nearby. "Who's there?" I call out, my voice sounding thin and scared, even to my own ears. The crying continues, unaffected by my question. I step into the hallway, flicking on lights as I go. The crying seems to retreat as I move toward it, always staying just out of reach. It leads me toward the spare room at the end of the hall, a room I never use, filled with boxes I haven't unpacked since moving in 6 months ago. The door is closed as always, but now there's a sliver of light escaping from beneath it. I know I didn't leave any lights on in there. I know it. My hand trembles as I reach for the doorknob. The metal feels ice cold against my palm, like it's been stored in a freezer. The crying is definitely coming from inside this room now, no doubt about it. I take a deep breath, tighten my grip on the bat, and push the door open in one swift motion. The hinges creak in protest, and the sound of crying abruptly stops. The spare room has transformed. Where there were once cardboard boxes and old furniture covered in sheets, there is now a fully furnished nursery. A rocking chair sits in the corner beside a white crib, complete with mobile and stuffed animals. The walls, which I remember being a faded beige, are now painted a soft yellow with a border of dancing teddy bears. I drop the bat with a clatter and stumble backward. This is impossible. None of this was here yesterday. As I stand frozen in the doorway, the rocking chair begins to move, creaking gently back and forth as if pushed by invisible hands. I want to run, to flee this apartment and never come back, but my feet feel rooted to the floor. A cold draft sweeps through the room, bringing with it the scent of baby powder and something else, something old and musty, like forgotten memories. The crying begins again, but it's different now. It's coming from the crib, with legs that barely support me. I approach the crib and peer over its edge. There's no baby inside, only a small yellowed photograph. With shaking hands, I pick it up. It's a picture of a woman holding an infant, standing in front of this very building. The woman's face is scratched out, but there's something familiar about her stance, the way she holds the child. I turn the photo over and find faded handwriting. Elizabeth and baby, 1985. My mother's name is Elizabeth, and I was born in 1985. A sudden realization hits me like a physical blow, and I sink to my knees beside the crib. My mother had told me we'd lived in this city when I was an infant, but she never mentioned this specific building. Could it be mere coincidence that I had chosen this same apartment 35 years later? The crying starts again, louder now, and I realize it's coming from inside my own head, a memory, perhaps, of my infant self in this very room. The nursery begins to fade around me, the cheerful yellow walls peeling away to reveal the faded beige beneath, the furniture dissolving like morning mist. As reality reasserts itself, I understand what's happening. This room had been my nursery once, and somehow across the decades, my infant cries had been trapped here, echoing through time to reach the woman I've become. The crying I'd been hearing was my own, a ghostly imprint of a baby long grown, calling out to the only person who could possibly recognize it, myself. As the last vestiges of the nursery disappear, leaving me alone in a room full of unpacked boxes, I feel a strange peace settle over me. I am home, after all. I always have been,